All right, today we're going to be looking at waves. Not the waves in the ocean, sound waves. Every time that you make a noise or you hear a noise, you actually hear a sound wave. So sometimes you can feel them. If you put your fingers here, don't push, just place them here gently, and you start humming, or you start talking, you can actually feel the vibrations. And those vibrations are what allow us to hear. Now, sound waves can be very different. They can be all sorts of different. They can have little short waves. They could have longer waves. They could have very tall looking close together waves. They could have very tall, farther apart waves. They could look like any one of these things. We're going to look at the difference between these. So depending on what it looks like, the sound is different. So if you see that the wave has a big wavelength from the top of one wave to the top of the other, it is big. Here it's small. Itty bitty. From the top of one wave to the top of the other. This wavelength is small. This wavelength is big. If the wavelength is big, you hear a low noise. Low. If it's small, the wavelength is small from the top to the next top. It's small. It's a high-pitched sound. You might hear ee. And this one you'd probably hear low. So it matters how close the tops of the waves are. That's called the wavelength. If the wavelength is farther apart, it's bigger. Like this one, you hear a low noise. If it is very close together, you hear a high noise. So if you take a look at our 4 examples, try to think about which ones have a low noise. Which ones have a high noise? Hopefully you guessed correctly. These two have a high noise because their wavelength is small. The top of the one wave to the top of the other wave is small. It's small. They're close together. And then these two have a much lower sound because their wavelength is it's bigger. It's much bigger. It's really big. Okay, the last thing we're going to learn about is amplitude. And that's going to tell you how loud something is. So this one should be easier for most of you. If the amplitude is teeny tiny, like this guy, then it's going to be a very quiet. They're very small. They're itty bitty. But if it looks like this, look at this size, they're short. The amplitude's small. It's going to be quiet. But if it's like this, it's going to be very loud. So this has a small amplitude, so it's quiet. This has a big amplitude, so it is loud. So let's take a look at our examples. Again, no particular order. 2 of these probably have a very loud sound, and 2 of them probably have a very quiet sound. So hopefully you think the top one and the bottom one right here are the loud ones because their amplitude, how tall the wave is very big compared to the 2 in the middle. These 2 probably are quiet sounds. All right. So I want you to try a worksheet now to see what you've learned. Don't forget to do that. Take a look at your waves again. Just to recap, if the amplitude is big, it's loud. If the amplitude is small, it's quiet. If the wavelength is short, then it is high pitch. If it is long and big, then it is low. Okay, good luck, guys.